I would highlight four important points here. The first one is the case when we talk about freezing. There won't really be a freezing as such, but there will be a temporary pause during which Russia will increase pressure. Well, that is roughly speaking, it will carry out additional mobilization measures. It will carry out additional measures to mobilize its economy. And accordingly, then all this will be on our territory. That is, Russia absolutely precisely fixes one very important legal aspect today, even a legal one, that it can only be in a state of war with democratic countries. It doesn't matter whether it is Ukraine or the European Union or these or those countries that belong to the NATO bloc as a whole. But nevertheless, Russia will continue its expansion into Europe. This is the second one. The president talks about this and he seems to, sum up the discussions that are only now beginning to unfold in Europe. We see publications that constantly analyze the possibility of a direct military clash between NATO countries and Russia. We can see these discussions about whether Europe will be able to resist Russian expansion in the broader sense of the word. The president says, why? Meaning, why do you want to wait until this crowd, all trained by killing Ukrainians, rushes towards you? And accordingly, the president draws a very important conclusion. Look, now there is one camp where there is Ukraine, there are their own special position, there are countries of democracy. If we speak in the global sense of the word, let's collect resources, collect opportunities, and bring this war to its logical conclusion. And finally, the fourth point is that in principle, the Russian leadership always emphasizes that Russia has no other option but to wage a war for dominance on the European continent. And all this needs to be constantly spoken out. Yes, there are sins that are obvious to you and me. These are the sins that accurately characterize the state of Russian politics today. But nevertheless, we need our European partners to abandon the era of non-decision making. Let me remind you that we remember the year of 2014, of 2008. We remember other events that clearly indicated the true intentions of the Russian Federation, but to which our partners responded with indifference, that is, ignorance. Now we need to abandon the era of not making decisions or transferring decisions to the next political generations, and accordingly make a consolidated decision, which sounds very simple. The Russian Federation not just should, but is obliged to lose this war. This is a basic war, including that of the NATO bloc, including the countries of Europe as a whole, against authoritarian Russia, which wants to dominate Europe. This was talked over through the whole Davos forum. If we are talking about the political part, because there was also an economic part of the discussions. And it seems to me that many leaders of other countries, experts and political analysts are inclined towards the absolutely correct position of the president of Ukraine. We will return to the cause of Kiev. I just want to understand what peace is in this case. Russia continues to attack with missiles on a large scale. It continues to attack along the entire front line and continues to militarize its economy. The Russian Federation, through the mouths of its speakers, says, "We will kill the Ukrainian state in any case. It will disappear one way or another. This is the goal of our special military operation, war and so on." What is meant by the word peace? Where is the word peace here? Where is it articulated here? That is, the Russian Federation called the editorial office of the New York Times and said, "Look, we also want peace. We really came to slaughter them. We killed a lot of civilians there. This is all just to achieve peace. We're now ready to make peace with them on Ukraine's terms, on the terms of a democratic peace, on the terms of international law and so on." Just like that? They called the editorial office and said it? Well, this is so ridiculous, to be honest. I'm even sometimes amazed, because here I would even make a reference for the editors of the New York Times, not to the words of the President Zelensky, spoken out at the forum in Davos, but to the words that the US President Biden administration constantly emphasizes, which very clearly records the motives of this war. The motives of this war are genocidal in relation not only to the ethnic group of Ukrainians, but in relation to the state. That is, they clearly state the key goal of the war against Ukraine, the destruction of Ukraine, not state institutions, not specific politicians, but the destruction of Ukraine in one format or another. Some people must be killed as part of military operations. Some people must be filtered in the concentration camps. Some people must be deported. Some people will disappear, and so on and so forth. This is declared. And by the way, at the level, let me emphasize once again, of the US executive branch, and this is clear clearly stated by it. The second component, which is stated by official representatives, including Mr. Blinken, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Kirby, they clearly say that the Russian Federation will not stop calling for anything. That is, in this war, there is no compromise. In this war, the one who wins will dominate.